This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Hope your Saturday's treating you well here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Brought to you by Larry King Law. If you're injured in an accident, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King. Matt Hatfield here with you. And at this time, we're pleased to be joined by one of the best in the business, Hampton Roads Sports Hall of Famer. You watch him all the time on 13 News Now. 13newsnow.com is the website, too, to check out all those sports clips. And follow him on Twitter at 13 Scott Cash. We say hello to the money man, Scott Cash, here on ESPN Radio 94.1. Long time no talk. How you been, my friend?
I'm doing good. In tribute to the other Larry King, Matt Hatfield, Virginia Beach. Hello.
Yes, we lost him today. I mentioned at the top of the show, Scott, we lost, they come in threes, unfortunately, but Hammer and Hank Aaron, we lost Larry King, just a sportscaster, broadcasting icon, and he was a big Dodgers fan, as we well know. And then also the actor, Gregory Sierra, who was on Barney Miller and had a little short stint there, Miami Vice. We know him from Sanford and Son. So three great ones, unfortunately, passing. Way too many passings in this past year. Ugh.
Oh, man. I was talking, for us who are old, I was at work yesterday. I thought I was like one of the only ones who remember where I was just because I'm such a sports nut when Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record. But like every older person that I talked to, oh, yeah, I remember where I was. That was pretty good. April 8th, 1974.
Well, I wasn't around, but just watching the replay and some of the MLB Network coverage yesterday, which I know you're a big baseball fan too, Scott. The thing that gets me chills is when I see another one that passed a couple years back, Craig Sager. How about him running on the field with that?
Yeah. Well, his suit wasn't that wacky. His suit was not that wacky in that episode.
It wasn't. But, tough stretch for Braves fans. They've lost Aaron, Don Sutton, and Phil Niekro like in the last 2-3 weeks here.
Yeah, I had the good fortune of seeing, before I became a broadcaster, in person, I saw Niekro pitch against the Phillies, and Hank Aaron hit a home run to drive in the only run of the game. I'll cherish that memory forever.
How about that? Man, that's something. Well, and you've run into it. You've dealt with so many different athletes on the local and national level, Scott. When you get to that level, and not to disparage other guys that have broken records, perhaps some that are viewed as the king, but some can be a little bit, testy and not the most. Like Henry Aaron was just a guy with grace and class and dignity all day.
Yeah, all the way through. Yeah, and I know the demands on athletes today are, well, maybe not. The demands on Hank Aaron were tremendous. So maybe there is some reason for athletes these days to be less accommodating. But just because of the demands, but Hank Aaron had demands through the roof, and he was accommodating and generous and gracious. Yeah, just what a guy.
Well, we'll get to some volleyball, some college hoops, some NFL, and others with you. But while we're on the topic of baseball, we've had some different off-season moves and so forth. Anything kind of really grab you as, wow, didn't see that coming, or interesting?
Well, a couple things. One, the Lindor and Carrasco to the Mets is a pretty big deal. Mm-hmm. Lindor, yeah, he wasn't as good as he was normally in 2020, but I'm the kind of guy who basically throws out the book on 2020. I think that's a big move for the Mets, and Cohen taking over as the owner. That's the NL East is going to be pretty darn tough for a while. And then having grown up in the Philadelphia area, being a Phillies fan, I'm waiting in a big way for the biggest free agent signing this year. It would be JT Realmuto. We'll see if the Phillies keep him around or if he goes. It's the free agent market is really tough this year because teams don't know what kind of money they can deal with because of COVID and the number of fans in the stands or not in the stands. Mm-hmm. It's hard for teams to know how much money can we spend on free agents.
Well, it is, and you still have the usual powers at the top, the likes of the Dodgers and the Yankees and so forth. But, there's a couple emerging teams. You mentioned certainly the Mets. You look at Toronto, the White Sox now, Tony La Russa there. But, yeah, the Padres, my gosh, what they're doing. Yeah. The Mets and Padres are two of the fascinating stories, even though the Braves and the Dodgers may be viewed as division favorites. But it's fun. A couple of weeks ago, my normal cohort here, Coach Ed Young, not to beat him up because he gets beat up enough by me, but he gives it back. He said Mets will finish fourth. I'm thinking they're second. I don't know about them being fourth. Although the Nats and Phillies, you can't entirely throw them out of the picture.
No, you can't. I don't see the Mets finishing fourth, though.
No.
I don't see that. And as much as I just love my Phillies, if they don't do something with their bullpen, they might be bringing up the bottom of that division.
Yeah, you think we get, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, you think we get 160? I can't imagine we get 162. What do you think the number of games is going to be?
So let me see. First week of April, I think we will.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I think we will. I mean, it's going to be really rough first month or two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the kind of question that is unanswerable over the last 10 months, right?
So very true.
We don't know what tomorrow brings. But, if you're asking me to guess, that's my guess.
Yeah, I'd like to see it go to 140.
Got all their games in, which is crazy.
It is. I mean, and you know what? I think it's so hard to, and they're not in the bubble like basketball and hockey were, that they got all that in, which is astonishing. I looked for a couple weeks there with the Steelers and the case with the Titans and a couple of them, it wasn't going to happen. But I'd love to see baseball go to like 140 and just the expanded playoff. Maybe not more teams, but a couple more games in those early rounds of it. And I know that'd be tough for some of the owners and so forth. But you're right.
It's funny you mention that. Given the present times, my level of flexibility is on a whole nother level. So I'm fine with whatever.
Well, speaking of being flexible, I noticed because we played a little bit of sound from it from yesterday, you caught the first ever ODU women's volleyball victory.
Man, it was really fantastic. I mean, there was family and friends at the game in the newly renovated, it's the old basketball practice gym at ODU. They put, I think, $3 million into the renovation, and it's spectacular. The fans that were in attendance made it a special day, made it loud and noisy, and the production value of what ODU was putting on, video-wise and sound-wise was great. And, of course, the play was tremendous. They came out, had harnessed all their adrenaline, scored the first 8 points of the game against George Mason, and just kind of it got tough after that, but they rolled through 3 straight sets and one hand. They got a good mix of local talent because we've got a lot of good volleyball players in the area, and then some women from international flavor as well. Perhaps their best player is Alessia Scherza from Italy. So I mean, it was fun to watch.
I'm glad you pronounced that because I had no chance of getting that one done.
I checked with their SID to make sure. She said it's Scherza, but she said, it's Italy, so it's like Scherza.
Well, and I mentioned earlier in the show, you got a feel for Coach Chow and then Ricky Ronnie, some of these first-year coaches. And you're right, that place, I don't know if it was your footage yesterday or maybe something Harry Minium of ODUsports.com put out. That place does look sparkling. I mean, these first-year coaches in the waiting game of like, are we going to play, not going to play? And he had a great answer about it. I mean, it's in his comparison, analogy to you with it, it is so nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just like, it was continuing. My first thing that popped into my mind when you said that was Coach Fuente every week because, Tech had some difficulties keeping up with things. And they did as good as they could, but it's going to get you. And it's like most every press conference, he's just like, this and that, and it's just so hard. And he said, I don't want to be complaining, but this is what we got. And so you got to come to a whole new level of patience and dealing with anxiety when it comes to being a coach or player or anybody involved with the athletic programs. And I was talking to you at the basketball game the other night at Bayside, just the number of college basketball games this week. I mean, like there were none that ODU postponed, Hampton postponed, UVA. I mean, Virginia Tech game Wednesday postponed. Norfolk State had one postponed. I mean, just this week.
It's wild.
Just like, man, I'm just hoping the worst of it is like right now, maybe. But there's a lot of hope, fingers crossed, that have been crossed for quite some time now.
Yeah, I'm with you entirely. We're talking with Scott Cash of 13 News Now here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. And that brings me to one game that I believe, as we speak right now, is still on. And I know this is going to be tough for you because you got fondness. If I'm not mistaken, your sons went there. You got UVA top defense in the ACC, Georgia Tech top offense in the ACC tonight. Where do you lean, Scott?
Well, it's easy to lean with UVA. It's funny because my younger son turned about 16. His interest in sports just went through the roof.
Uh-huh.
So he's a sports fanatic, and he's the one that went to UVA.
Okay.
And that's Dane. And my older son is Ryan. He couldn't care less about sports. So it's not like there's a lot of passion for Georgia Tech athletics. Although he was there when, for God's sake, wide receiver, Detroit Lions.
Oh, Megatron, Calvin Johnson.
Megatron, he was there when Megatron was there. He went to football games when Megatron was there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to the Bobby Crimmins days to find some great Georgia Tech days. Although they did lose, people forget that national championship to UConn with Emeka Okafor and Ben Gordon when they had Luke Schencher and B.J. Elder and Jarrett Jack in that crew. And I think Josh Pastor's doing a pretty good job with them right now, all things considered.
Yeah. My son was there when that happened.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, it was like his first year. So he was pretty excited about that. So, UVA, there's a lot to like there.
My goodness, people were throwing dirt on them even on our show, and I understood it when they lost that game to San Francisco, the alma mater of the great Bill Russell. But man, did they look good against Clemson or what last Saturday? My gracious!
Yeah, they got Jay Huff's playing through the roof. I mean, they got a number of players who are playing just some great basketball in it, and I wouldn't say that their defense is overlooked because it's certainly not overlooked as a team, but individually, you got guys there like Huff and Kihei Clark. I mean, just individually, they kind of really stand out defensively, which you might not always pay attention to because we're always, following the ball and thinking about offense. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, it's a weird year to see, but this is a COVID year. You don't see North Carolina and Duke in the top 3 or 4 in the ACC, but I mean, that is the norm and the new norm, right?
Yeah, Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky out of the top 20 for the first time since 1961.
Remarkable.
Duke might not even make the field.
That's even crazier to think about that. They might not even make the actual tournament. That. I mean, and then not to mention, we had it as one of our poll questions a week or two ago, Scott. And there's, again, sort of like we mentioned with the baseball, there's no way of really forecasting and being confident in any prediction or prognostication. Right. But one of our questions was, do you think either UVA or Virginia Tech wins the ACC tournament championship? It's not out of the realm of possibility that they both play each other in that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, they're the two best teams in the conference right now, right?
It's crazy, but it's true, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and what a job Mike Young has done there at Virginia Tech. I mean, I was looking, I don't know who was mentioning it the other day, but you had Pittsburgh, Clemson, and Virginia Tech in the preseason media predictions were like 10, 11, and 12 or something picked to face that way in the conference. Based on that, it's like those coaches are doing a tremendous job for real. I mean, Keve Aluma has been tremendous, and it's a great team effort there at Virginia Tech. So, yeah, it very well could be UVA, Virginia Tech. If you had to say right now, who would it be? I mean, that's what you would say.
You would, because, I mean, even though you've seen moments and flashes from Florida State, Clemson, Louisville, I'm not sure any of those three have been as consistent as those two.
Right. No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. As we look at, and to your point about the media things with the picks, I think Rice was picked in one of the magazines last week. I mentioned last in Conference USA. They beat Old Dominion, and I turned around the next day and said, they'll win today. ODU will win. They won the next game. So many of these back-to-back games in these leagues, like the CUSA, the CAA, and again, not condoning it here, but I wonder those that put shekels, as I call it, down on the games, how many of those people now have gotten this little method of take the other team in the back-to-back game?
I love that. Yeah. Because it's not just, it was a 4-point win one night, and then it's like 20-point wins one night, and then the other team wins the next night. Yeah, it's shekels. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny. I saw this. It happened in Richmond, a high school game. Manchester Monacan. They played back-to-back nights, Scott. The one team won by 30 the first night. The other team won by like 18 the next night. Go figure. You can't make it up.
Insane. That's just nuts.
Hey, real quick moment on the high school before we go to the NFL with you. I know you got some highlights. How good was that dynamic duo? You got some dunks the other night with Green Run with Cooper and Kennedy, Jake Cooper and Elijah Kennedy. Those two guys can play, huh?
Yeah, I was just blown away. I didn't have to stay very long to get highlights, I can tell you that. And since I didn't get to see high school games last year because I had my knee surgery,
right,
so I was out of commission. So I didn't get to see Cooper last year. I mean, Kennedy was great too, but Cooper just blew me away. What is he, 5'10"? Well, you know more than I do. Is he getting any looks?
Well, that's the crazy thing. I did a post-game Zoom with him under the recommendation of Coach Kenneth Harris, and I think that's fine. We're doing it Zooms with Norfolk State, Notre Dame, all these colleges. Why not? So, and I got his point with it. It made sense, and I interviewed both of them. Really well-spoken kids. They both are 3.0 plus GPA kids. I don't believe either one's got a current Division I offer, and they were good last year, but I haven't watched them since back in March. They've gotten a lot better since then. It's amazing. Neither one has, I think, a committable D1 offer to this day, which just shocks me.
Yeah, Cooper, lightning fast, quick, and I'm not going to make any comparisons to other great players who came out of our area, but he has as much quickness as I've seen in a long time. He did a step back 3 when I was there. He drove the lane. He was tremendous on defense, and his passing ability, like I said on the air, if you're open, he's going to get you the ball.
Yeah, he was really good. Hey, all right, we got 2 conference championship games, and we got a local guy with one of them with the Chiefs with Derek Nottie out of Ocean Lakes High in Virginia Beach. We'll see if Patrick Mahomes is able to be at 100% or close to it as they take on the Bills. And then the Packers and the Bucks, the ageless wonder that is Tom Brady taking on Green Bay. You know, Scott, if Tampa wins, first time ever a team gets to play the Super Bowl in its home city. How about that?
Yeah, crazy. That would be crazy. You know, my heart gets in the way of my head here. A couple of these predictions, because Josh Allen led me into the championship, a championship win in fantasy football this year.
Oh, nice!
So I'm in on the Bills. Plus, I'd love to see the Bills win since it's been quite some time. And I'm sure Mahomes will be 100%, right?
Maybe. I mean, it's hard.
He's cleared the concussion protocols. I mean, it's not like his arm or his legs are going to slow him down. And they're not going to put him back if he hadn't cleared any, if his head is not quite right. So he'll probably be good to go. I like the Bills, and Aaron Rodgers is something. I got to say this about Tom Brady, though. Before the season started, I was poo-pooing him, and basically he was done, couldn't throw the deep ball anymore. Shame on me. He's been tremendous at age 43.
He has, and I mean, my goodness, and they had that scare from the Washington football team there for a little bit, but man, oh man, he's looked like he doesn't look 43. It's unreal. He looks better than guys in their mid-20s.
Yeah, he's been great. Obviously, he has some tremendous weapons like he never saw when he was with the Patriots. You know, after he won like 3 Super Bowls, I was already proclaiming him as the best quarterback ever because he was throwing to guys you never heard of and made them famous. And then, except for Randy Moss and Gronk.
Right.
But, I mean, for the most part, his weapons were just not that great. His offensive line was terrific, but he's something else.
Yeah, and he's got even better weapons now in Tampa with the likes of Godwin and Brown and Gronk and Mike Evans. He's got weapons galore. So am I putting you down here and not holding you to it like, well, you say, you got it. But Packers and Bills, is that where you're leaning, or are you going Bucks-Bills?
Yeah, hold me to it. Write it down so I can brag about it when the Packers meet the Bills in the Super Bowl.
And then we're going to wait for that footage of Bruce Smith as he roots them on, the 757 great Booker T. Washington High Virginia Tech fame, as he and all those Bills that got their hearts broken finally get to root them on to maybe get that Lombardi trophy. Well, he is the money man himself, Scott Cash, WVEC, Channel 13, 13newsnow.com. Check him out. He and Brian Smith and the team do a great job with the sports coverage. Be well, my friend. You stay safe, and hopefully see you socially distanced in a gym or a field or somewhere soon.
I'm sure we will, because you'll be texting me the final score and the latest scoring updates. I appreciate it, Matt.
You got it, Scott. Have a good weekend.
You take care.